all beings. All beings.
Hey everybody, I don't know how my mic got muted. I don't know how that happened, but here I am, your host DJ, calling all beings one love to all the cabbies, Nathan, Debs, and Courtney, who you will see us on this week with an episode regarding UAP. We're going to talk about Lou Elizondo's book called Imminent, the new book by former chief, GS-15 chief of the Pentagon UAP program named Luis Elizondo, who retired. I shouldn't say he retired. He resigned in protest over them not allowing to reveal. He was not allowed to reveal to Secretary of Defense, then Secretary of Defense James Mattis, what they were discovering about UAPs and how they were interacting with our naval and military pilots, etc. So we've had Luis on the show before. He's a huge draw. He's like having Sean McDonough on. But we're going to talk about that on Thursday. Anyway, let's get down to Sandra Birchmore. I'm here to really, in honor of Sandra Birchmore, I'm here to talk to and challenge. Hey, what's up? Mizzy's in the house, the inspiration for this joint right here. Mizzy and the Hizzy like Thin Lizzy. And David, his twin brother must be in town. Someone moved Matt's pickup. I live down the street from Matt. Wow. David, Michael, let me put that in there. So first of all, we have to recognize the godmother herself. Think of her like Don Corleone, but the female version, Mizzy, who inspires us all to know, discuss, and talk about Sandra Birchmore and her teammate, member of her Justice for Sandra Birchmore team, and a chief researcher named Suzanne, whom I got to meet last night, and is phenomenal. You guys are going to see her, Suzanne, on the show as well. And it was an honor to meet with Suzanne and the rest of the team last night. Attorney Mark Betterow, Peter Murphy, obviously the amazing Nurse Kim, and Mizzy. So yeah. Anyway, David, let's get to. Hi, Julie. Julie's here. I thought Julie was not going to be able to make it, but Julie is here. Chip is here. Hi, Chip. And hi, Mystery Singer. How are you, either ma'am or sir? Good evening. And David right here. David, his twin brother must be in town. Someone moved Matt's pickup. I live down the street. So my next question, David, would you think that there is somebody else that would have access to that truck or that could potentially have moved it? Does he have a close confidant? Hi, Emma. Welcome, ma'am. So let us know, David, what your thoughts are on that. If there's another possible, but it would be very interesting if Billy were in town, because you would think he would want to be as far away from it as possible. But let me get into my monologue here. And this is for Matt Farwell, tough guy, the 6'4" guy preying on little girls. Former U.S. Army. So, we don't want to. I'm from military background. I'm retired military, and we don't only want to take aim at police. He also was affiliated with the Department of Defense, my organization, and U.S. military. Great question, Emma. Hi, Rachel. Welcome. Anyway, so Maddie, I know that you really thought that you're really brilliant and that you were going to be able to get away with this. And so I'm curious if you thought that, were you going to set the crime scene up so perfectly that you weren't going to get caught, or was this going to be a matter of you knew you were going to have cover? Which is it? Because you already screwed up the crime scene when you left the chain, the necklace that her family then found. The necklace that it said, and Mizzy, correct me on this, that she's never without that damn necklace. So, genius detective, how did you leave that behind and not think that was going to be a dead giveaway? Was the broken necklace? Did you think that nobody was going to find it? Cover. So, Mizzy, what do you think about that? The necklace, is that something that, because I heard somewhere that she always had that necklace on. Let me know if you can describe that for us. But Matt, you boned that up. You boned that up so badly that you left the necklace such that the detectives didn't find it. Something that my guests last night were incredulous about. So Mizzy says yes, and her family found it, not the police. So how about those other geniuses? Did you know that those guys are going to cover for you? Is that how you thought you were going to get away with this? How could you have known that? Are those dudes that corrupt? You knew that the crime was being committed in Canton, so you knew the Canton police were going to be on the scene, and then you knew that the Mass State Police were also going to be on scene, and you know that some of those guys are former Stoughton police officers. Did you know that those guys were going to cover for you? I mean, you might as well spill the beans, Matt, because you're going to be in jail in the best of circumstances, you're going to be in jail for the better part of a quarter of a century. You're going to be older than my ass when you get out of there. So how did you know? Did you know? Did you think they were, I know you didn't think they were incompetent and stupid. Obviously you are, because you crushed the hyoid bone. Didn't you think a medical examiner was going to find that? Huh? Did you think that they were not going to put it in their report? Matt? Did you think that was going to totally escape people, that the sash around her neck, one of the, I don't know, Mizzy says 4 different ligatures. Yeah, Chip Jones, great point. If he survives prison. That's a great point, brother man. Right. Because his ass could be totally tore up. Hey, Bubba and Saucy, thank you so much. This is just something I had to do. I felt compelled to do this today, and I texted Mizzy a little bit early in the morning for me, a little later in the morning for her, that I was going to do this, and she's like, yeah, man, go for it. Let me tell you, Nurse Kim is the queen of doing solo podcasts. I've been podcasting for 14 years. I've done my share of solo podcasts. They're not easy to do. Nurse Kim makes it look easy. It's not easy. So I just want to say that. Mary P., you have something here. Was it because of the blizzard? Did that allow Matthew to drive his own car, which was the only thing he couldn't cover? Well, I don't know, Mary P. I'm going to leave that question to Mizzy. I think there are other things that he couldn't cover, right? He couldn't cover the camera, right? The camera. So here's some of the things that he couldn't cover, Mary. The camera has the timestamp of him going in, and I think he was there, 29 minutes? The timestamp of him leaving, and then her phone never moved after that. What was he? I mean, was he going to steal her phone? Because he could have made the phone move, but unless he knew the combination to her phone, he wasn't going to be able to unlock it and text anybody. And then the phone would have been seen leaving the premises. So he couldn't account for the phone. He couldn't account for the camera coming and going. And then we just saw a photo of this idiot at the hospital wearing the same hoodie that he was wearing to her house. So he couldn't cover all the bases. So that's why I'm at Hello, Renee Rose Miller, honoring Sandra and Plymouth Standouts Weekly. Please join us. So here it is. Honoring Sandra. Hell yeah, at Plymouth Standouts Weekly. I'm sure Mizzy has a place that you can find out where those standouts are going to be on her Facebook page, which I believe is Justice for Sandra Birchmore, or you can find it under A Mixed Girl in a Mixed Up World. You know, I put out our episode for last night, and I didn't see it come out on Apple, so I don't know. I have to go back into Spreaker and see what happened, but all of Missy's contact information and all of her social media will be in the show notes to that episode. Julie's back. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the mod like no other. I mean, there's so many great mods out there. Mods are just the most amazing people. It doesn't matter. You go to any one of these shows and the mods are just welcoming and they give their time and they're awesome. And Julie's like that. And she's been with Cab for at least a year now. Anyway, back to Farwell. So Farwell, I know you thought you had it covered, but you couldn't account for the phone. You didn't account for the necklace, and you couldn't account for the damn camera. Even though you're anti-mask and all that, you had the mask on and the hoodie, which is out of character and incongruent. And a real detective that actually was honest would have tore you a new backside for that. Would have said, I've got social media posts saying that you're anti-vax, you're anti-mask. How come you're wearing a mask into Miss Sandra Birchmore's house? Were you sick? Were you sick, Matt? Did you make a hell yeah, let's go good cops? And there's a lot of them. A whole bunch of my teammates from Dean were police officers, and some of my hometown high school brothers from Hendrick Hudson are also police officers. One of them is a major, very, very high-ranking police officer, and we're extremely proud of him. So what were you thinking, Matt, on that? Were you thinking that a real detective is going to show you those Facebook posts and those things where you're anti-mask and ask you why you're showing up at her house with a mask? Anti-vax, anti-mask. And then, I was sick. Okay, can you show me, did you go to the doctor? Did you consult your primary care manager on that, Matt? Tough guy with the 4'9" girl, 4'11", whatever. This tiny little beautiful thing in Sandra Birchmore. And why? I hate to ask why, because obviously you're a damn monster and you're a psycho that doesn't feel emotion. Because apparently someone talked to you and said it didn't look like you showed any remorse at all for the loss of Sandra Moore. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is a great one right here, Mary P. Did he go to the delivery room for his wife's child while he was sick? So, yeah, he has no excuse. He's not going to be able to get around the timeline, the camera, the fact that her phone never moved, and the hyoid bone. Did you guys know that you... Oh, I know, no kidding, right? They would have, back in that time, Izzy, they would have had the scans. They would have scanned his temperature. They would have known if he was sick, and he wouldn't have been obviously not allowed into the room with a newborn baby, which could... potentially be fatal to a young child, young baby that hasn't yet experienced all the building up all the antibodies and stuff and the defenses against viruses and so forth. Oh boy, I'm clicking on stuff. Same hoodie. Yeah, absolutely, Bob. Absolutely. Same hoodie. So what was the thought, Matt? Was the thought that you're going to do all these things, that that Canton's going to respond, that you knew that they would then, because you killed the girl, that it would be turned over to MSP? And did you know that they were going to cover? Did you know they were going to put their thumb on the ME? How did you know that? How could you know that? Is it that is the corruption there that rampant that it was expected? By the way, let me know how we're everyone. I'm going to just do a mic check. Let me know if the mic sounds good. So if you would give me either a thumbs up or sounds good in the chat, I would greatly appreciate that. Leslie Ann says, is he wearing a COVID mask walking into the hospital? I'm sure they have surveillance to prove it. Yet I'd bet 100 no, he didn't. That's a great thought. He probably didn't. So this is what Mizzy's saying is Fanning. But could he have known that Fanning was going to get assigned to the case? Would it have been any different if Yuri got assigned to the case? Because I believe he was also a Stoughton police officer. Mary P. asks a great question, and being that Mizzy's here, why would a professional use their hands if they had a ligature at hand? That, you know what, Mary? You keep asking great questions. Yes, somebody said this. We got to put this up here real quick. Linda Mitchell, we couldn't agree more. I actually told Missy I love her last night, and I mean that in a way that you all would want to digest that. Just as somebody I admire and as a friend, I really, really do. And when I actually got to speak with her, it was kind of like it was kind of fanboying out there a little bit, and then her getting her on the show. So yeah, love Missy. Let's see. What else do we have here? Fanning was the cover. Yeah, I mean, the mindset here, Marilyn, and we're going to get into this. Somebody called him a monster up there. That's accurate. Is that how does it go? I took law enforcement as a major when I was at Dean, and there's a situation where you're told we enforce the law and we follow the law. So how does it go to and the Vegas cops spoke about this. So if you watch Microdot's latest video that includes our wonderful new Vegas cops, Brian and Gonzo, who were just on with Sean McDonough the other night. I want to say it was like Thursday night he was on with those guys. And they said, really, it's a cultural thing that you come in and people start asking you, and I'm going to star this, Bob, because we're going to get you in there. I'm going to try to get everybody in there. That these guys, how do I say this? What the culture is. The culture drives it. He said they have a role in the Las Vegas police. They have a rule that if you're caught lying in testimony, in any sort of official report or testimony, it's immediate firing. Immediate firing. Gonzo and Brian, who rode together for many years and loved being patrolmen and road cops, as opposed to more like administrative, Gonzo said, I wouldn't cover, if I did something for him, I wouldn't cover for him. I'm not jeopardizing my career for him. So this has to be a cultural thing. But I really, really want to know, Matt, did you know that they were going to cover for you? Did you know that somebody from the MSP was going to be assigned? I hope you didn't pre-coordinate that. I hope to God you didn't pre-coordinate that, because if you did, then that person is an accessory to murder one. If you pre-coordinated any part of this or anybody knew. I'm going to say you didn't. But I think you thought you were going to get away with it and you weren't going to make any mistakes. But you know what? You did. You did. Because now you're in jail. Now you've been caught for the crime that you thought you got away with. The one where you left her necklace on the living room floor for the family to find. I mean, the police wouldn't want to find that, because if the police found that, that could indicate a struggle. And a struggle could indicate violence, and violence could have been resulted in her death, right? So we don't want to find any evidence that doesn't fit the narrative which we want, which is take out the push broom and let's push this under the rug. So we don't have a local police officer. We don't have a local police officer who is going to be charged by the Norfolk County DA, the corrupt Norfolk County DA, with a citizen's murder. And someone who is a Stoughton police explorer who now is a resident of Canton. Let me go through these because you guys have a lot of interesting stuff in the chat, and we don't want to let it go by here. Okay, so yes, Marilyn. Mary P says, I hate the answer that comes to mind. It's dark. Yes. The answer is anger, Chip. I don't remember what was that was in reference to. Mizzy loves us as we love her. And here, DJ, there's 725,000 citizens living in Norfolk County under this tyranny and helpless. Me too. We need the National Guard. Yeah, Bob. Yeah, I mean, you do have people that are exploring that. It's very, very sensitive. And I hope, because I'm not a resident and I'm not a voter, I hope you get what it is that you think you want. And I hope you can find consensus among your fellow citizens so that somehow that can happen. But I don't know the process. I know Peter is looking into it tacitly, but for that to happen, somebody needs to be there. For any sort of a receivership, I would believe that, let's just use the term, a legal term, and say probable cause. In order to have probable cause for anything like that, I think you would have to have a number of arrests, right? You would have to have a number of arrests and be able to chain together something that we envision, like Fanning with this case, and Fanning interacting with the jurors and potentially, allegedly, potentially involved in the expulsion of jurors that would have been pro Karen Reed, and Buchanan, if he had involvement. And Mizzy, hit me in the chat here if Buchanan had any involvement at all in Sandra Birchmore investigation. And then you could tie to it Kevin Albert and Brian Albert and Trooper Proctor, and what did Nicholas Guarino know, and what did Trooper Paul know, and what did Ken Berkowitz at the time know, and what did then Lieutenant Kelleher know, and what did Gallagher know, and et cetera. And if you could tie together all those pieces, I would imagine, as a layperson not knowing the answer, you could possibly have a case for some sort of receivership. But I think you can't put the egg before the chicken in this case. You need to at least find have both of these cases find some sort of commonality, and I think that could possibly get us to where you want to get to. I'm sorry that was a long-winded answer. Mizzy's been pushing the pavement for Sandra for a long time. There's no question. We spoke about that, and we're that's why we're inspired by her. David, yeah, same hoodie. Yeah, really. This moron didn't even go change. Hands equals rage. That is a great point. So, Matt, back to you for a second, Matt. Do you know how many men in America have had children outside of their marriage and outside of wedlock? You moron. I mean, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger even has had that, former and famous action star. One of my friends whom I served with had this happen, where he had a child with a woman while he was away somewhere. And what did he do? He ended up telling his wife about it. He begged for forgiveness, and he offers support to the mother and to the child, and has now integrated his nuclear family with this other family. It's not that hard, Matt. Does it take extra work? You're going to have to put in some extra hours because of where you're sticking your unit? Yes. But it's not something that you kill someone over, you monster, you idiot. Because now, how do I know you're an idiot? Because now you're in jail for it. You thought you were going to be able to cover. You didn't think anybody was going to notice this? You didn't think Mizzy and her team were going to notice this? And obviously Josh Levy and his team with the investigative tools of the FBI. You don't think they have these guys? I don't know what their next move is, but I guarantee you Billy Farwell and Robert Devine are not sleeping very well, nor the animal control officer. He's probably, hey, man, I didn't do anything, man. I just took her down there and slept with her. Yeah, you didn't do anything, huh? Look at that look on her face, guys. Look at that look on her face in those photos, those few photos that we have. One of them is smiling when she's a young police explorer, and then that quizzical look when it looks like, I don't know if she's in her car, but there's not a lot of photos of her. Does that look like the photo of someone who's just living her best life? That's somebody who is making the most out of the cards that life dealt her. That is a person who is surviving what all the difficulties and all the people who abused her because of the fact that she didn't have very engaged parents, and they trusted these animals from the police force that were preying on young girls, and she wasn't the only one. Listen to the Case podcast. Anybody here within the sound of my voice, if you have not watched the Case podcast, season 1 and 2, and they've just updated it since Robert's arrest. These guys are very, very charitable to John Fanning and to the state police, far more so than I would be, but it is a phenomenal piece of work. Let's go down the list here. You're right on the money there, Chip. He's a sick man and wanted to feel her life fade. Wow. I mean, that right there, Mizzy, if that's the case, man, that is just really, really sick. And that is, I'm sure you've probably talked to some psychologists about this. Yeah. Yeah, Mary has the same feeling. He was into BDSM. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I think it means rough sex. So somebody can clue me in on that. Rachel, yeah, I think he was arrogant enough to think he was untouchable, sick POS. That doesn't mean point of sale system. Yeah, there's no question that these guys think they're untouchable. And that's what it, I said this to Mizzy when we spoke on the phone. It's not something where I want to see something bad happen to the family of Matthew Farwell or to whatever degree Yuri Buchanan. I don't know what their family situations are, or Fanning, or Proctor, or Paul, or Guarino. I don't wish this on any of their families, because they're innocent victims in this to a far lesser degree than the de facto victims, which are in this case Sandra Birchmore, Karen Reed, and ultimately John O'Keefe as well. But it is going to be very pleasurable to see these guys put in handcuffs, not because I wish bad things to happen to people, but because of they walk around with this real attitude that they're untouchable and that the law doesn't apply to them. And a civil society just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. The law applies to everyone. Up close and personal hate. David, it'd be interesting if that were ever, and it will eventually come out when he talks to prison psychologists, but you may be right. It'd be very interesting to hear about that. Marilyn says, let's change the word push. Pray until something happens. Man, Marilyn, you're brilliant. Yes. I haven't prayed for this in a while, but I need to pray tonight for that. Now that I was praying a lot for my family to make it safely to Colorado. We're all here, us two and our 5 pets. So yeah, I will pray for that. Okay, if you want to sub Mizzy's channel, on YouTube if you would search A Mixed Girl in a Mixed Up World. It will also be in the show notes of this episode as well as last night's episode. Yes, please sub to Mizzy. It's the same unit. So in Mizzy here, it's the same unit. He could have worked on some facet of the case, but from the report, he's not there. I've been told they're friends though. So and what Mizzy's talking about there is Buchanan's involvement. Allegedly, he was a former Stoughton PD. So nothing would surprise us. That's the bad part, is nothing would surprise us about this at this point. Michael Morrissey, the DA, is head mobster. No question about it, Bob. He is the head mobster, and I know he thinks he's going to walk. But I don't think he's out of the woods yet. I really don't. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate you putting that up there. That's what a man does, DJ. Yeah, no, absolutely. Jules, that's what a man does. When you have kids out of wedlock, it's a sad circumstance for everybody, but you can make the best of it. You can even blend the families. Like I said, in the case of one of my colleagues, they were able to go on vacation together, and now I'm sure to a degree, this young person that he brought into the world feels connected to his dad, and that's beautiful. I love that. Okay. Sub to Mizzy's YouTube. Thank you. Yes. I got to check if I am. I will too. She's going to be putting out content. She's going to restart her content. Rico is appropriate. Yeah, apparently, Bob, we've heard that there is some aspects that Sean believes they can use from Rico. This is what I think going for Rico is a Rico case. Yeah. Yeah, that would be awesome. You are a rock star, and we appreciate everything you do. Love and flowers. Julie here, she was a sweetie and trying her best. Yeah. Mizzy may be able to speak to this. There was some commentary from her colleagues, I believe it was at the school or hospital, help me with this, that were not as glowing, but they have to understand that the place that somebody comes from when they're in this situation, that they may talk about things that are uncomfortable, because her self-worth became, hey, I'm dating a police officer. I'm dating a detective or whatever. That could make people feel good. Meanwhile, these guys go around looking to use that for girls. They're doing the Don Knotts, pulling up their pants, and using that as a tool to try to get dates. And so I think colleagues out there that may have thought something negative, and I'm sure you don't anymore, I'm sure you're saddened by what happened to Sandra, and your worst fears were realized when that officer was arrested. You now know that it wasn't a suicide, that it was worse, that it was someone took her life. But you have to understand the mindset that somebody like that comes from. They're going to find their self-worth in different things, maybe, than someone who grew up in a very, very supportive environment. That's what's so wonderful about having, whether it's a single parent or a two-parent home, but someone who's really involved and very supportive of your upbringing. Chip has something here. The commonality is Mike Morrissey, who was the senator at the time that Billy Bulger was president. I find it astounding that Billy's brother, Whitey Bulger, buried all of his bodies in Quincy. Wow. I did not know that, Chip. Man, you guys are really bringing a lot to the show tonight, so I really thank you for doing that. I just wanted to get on here and take a couple of shots at these alleged tough guys that were taking advantage of this little girl, this young girl. but thank you for bringing all this information here. Commonality between Billy Bolger and Mike Morrissey, and Whitey, his brother. So thank you. Mobsters one and all. David says apparently Divine called Sandra the day before fishy complicit. So that was brought up last night. I don't know if it was Mizzy or Suzanne that brought that up last night. But that is something I really can't put my finger on. I would love to hear more learned colleagues than I on what they think about that. It sounded coincidental, but I don't know if you read that transcript about the restraining order between that woman who Robert Devine was dating on the side, and I believe this is when he was still part of Stoughton Police, that he had to get a restraining order from this woman turning up at his house and doing all kinds of things and scaring his wife and all that. And, this is that kind of dirtbag. He may have been trying to rekindle something with Sandra to see if he were able to sneak away and get some action with her and abuse her again. You would think, okay, now he's detached himself from Stoughton in the police department and he got his law degree and he's an attorney and he's in practice. You would think that he would have left Sandra alone, but apparently he wanted to try to communicate with her more. For what reason, we can only speculate. But it's probably not something that we would deem positive or appropriate. I think we could make that leap. Vampires, no doubt, man. Vampire Diaries unfolding here in Norfolk County. Bondage, thank you. Bondage, okay. We need capital punishment for these awful crimes. He may yet get capital punishment, and we've met some people that are against that, but yeah, it may yet happen. So, you don't have to wonder too far. Yeah, David. I mean, there's a lot that's really apparent. I want to put this. Thank you, Julie. The Case Podcast. So there it is. The Case Podcast. Phenomenal work by Kirk Menahan, who I heard the other night has a wonderful voice. He's a wonderful content creator. And also brilliant is Dave Cullinane, the producer. And awesome work by them. Idiot indeed. And now it says here, I gave her a dog. You're going to have to explain that one, David. I don't know what that... Does that mean Matt gave her a dog? Mizzy says, latte. I don't know if they are victims of SA, but the twins were groomed by Divine. And I believe SA, she means sexual assault. Yeah, I mean, what a great teacher. The guy who lifts up the 12-year-old girl, puts her on top of a dryer at the school and tells her she's hot. Yeah, that's a great role model for an Explorers program. Make sure you put these other two guys in charge. She was obviously stunted, and even that was taken advantage of. Very, very sad. Yes. It. I had to speak with one of my high school classmates today. She is been a law clerk for probably 35 years, and she was saying to me, we were talking about Sandra, and I said they looked for the kind of girl they knew they could get over on. They looked for this archetype. Really, really sick people. And, when someone takes advantage of people, and we got into the whole thing, about how when your parents tells you bring home a friend, and it could have been from elementary school, middle school, high school, where someone was using you for something you had. It could have been to ride your dirt bike. It could be anything, For me, we had a ranch. I grew up on a dude ranch, so people would have maybe would have wanted to come to the dude ranch so that they could ride horses and use all the stuff that we had on the ranch, snowmobiles and other things. And sometimes my dad would say, they're really not your friend. I know you think this person's your friend, but they're using you. Because if they were your friend, they'd be inviting you over, they'd be inviting you to do things, and it's always they just want to use your stuff. And unfortunately, the O'Keefes are being used by the Alberts, or let's just call them the McAlberts, the McCabe's and the Alberts. And obviously, Sandra was being used by these officers, but it gave her that feeling of self-worth that she did not have. I thought she overshared. After talking to people from her work, I've been suspecting MSP wrote the reports in a skewed way. So that's really interesting. So I think what Mizzy's saying here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, my friend, is that Sandra overshared personal details of her life, but that MSP did not write accurate reports on what they said, and perhaps over dramatized or over sensationalized, or sort of extrapolated upon what they told her and made her look a little more of a wacko. Because you remember the word Trooper Proctor referred to Karen Reed as a whack job. I mean, how do you come to a conclusion that this woman's a whack job when you don't even know her and you've been on the case for 16 hours and you and your stupid sister, what's it, Courtney Proctor? I don't even remember his sister's name, are hoping that she kills herself and she dies. And that's funny. You know, and maybe that their MO is to paint Sandra as a whack job, so that way it'll look more plausible that she would take her own life. So smart fares that we have today. There's no question you guys are a very smart group. Julie says, yeah, before his friend kills her one last time. Yeah, this is really, really difficult to talk about. It really is. Really is. Yeah, he was having sex around the job in a cop car, so that could be why he called her. Cop cars. So yeah, what would be interesting about that, Mizzy, was he still active at the time? Was I guess Robert would have been active when at the time of her death? Please enlighten us on that. Thank you, David. I don't know what story that was, but thank you. Yes. So Chip, the other girl is yeah. Chip, if you go to the Case podcast, the other girl was interviewed for the Case podcast that Julie put up there in the chat. You can find it if you're a Android user on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcast. It's a phenomenal piece of work. That's where that girl is interviewed, and she talks about seeing Robert Devine riding around with this when she was a young girl and gave him a note that said, "I think you're hot," or something like that as a middle schooler. That's when she got lifted up onto the dryer and told she was hot and I'll date you when you're 18 and all this kind of stuff. And she said she saw other girls riding around in not only Robert Devine's cop car, but his personal vehicle. Girls that were not his daughter, that were too young to be riding around with him. What else do we got here? One girl who was in class with the Farwells when they were teenagers. I'm not sure the reference there. You're going to have to... Oh, is that... Okay. Okay, you're going to have to school me on that one when she was groomed. There have to be more. No question, Chip. There have to be more. And I'm going to tell you that Matt getting caught may prevent this from... Even though these guys are long in the tooth, they'll try again. Even though they don't have the badge, Matt driving the dump truck, it's not as cool as pulling up in a police car and having girls swoon over you. Not going to say, guys in uniform in the military, you can get the same kind of stuff, but it's whether you take advantage of it or not, and you do it honestly. Sometimes they don't have friends over because of the home life. That's true. That's right. Friends don't come over. You don't get as close. Don Knotts, Aunt B, we're dating ourselves. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I am. I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm 57. I told that to a content creator who contacted me about come doing some work with me on Cab, Carry True Crime, and she could not believe it when I told her our age. She said, I thought you were like 40 or something. I was like, no, I'm 57. Anyway, yeah, and they totally left people off the reports altogether. Yeah, obviously, because they don't want to support they don't want to support that this was a habit pattern. If it happens once and twice, maybe it's a coincidence. You have it 3 times now. We're starting to develop a pattern. All right. I hope others feel strong enough now to come forward to the FBI. These men had to hurt a lot of others. My prayers go out to them. No question, Rachel. There's no question. No question. So what Mizzy's saying is when that phone call, that last phone call from Robert Devine, which may have been the day of her death or the day before she died, all 3 were still cops. And Devine became a lawyer right after. He saw the writing on the wall. He knew what happened. He knew how she died. It's really disgusting. Yes, sir. Annie, hi, welcome, Annie Painter. This is probably a dumb question because it would an investigation. But I wonder if they did a vaginal swab for semen. I wonder if they were having sex when he strangled her. This Mizzy is best place to answer this question. Got it, Mizzy. Same girl you're talking about. Yeah. So, Mizzy, if you could answer that one, that's going to be our last question of the day, and then I'm going to sign off. I didn't even mean for it to go this long. I just wanted to harangue these guys. Do you know if there was a vaginal swab or if it was noted or they suspected? They did a rape kit but never... Oh, my God. They did a rape kit but never tested it. Yeah, I'm without words, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have the bandwidth. It's just so sick. I want to I don't know if this is coming through or not. Let's see. I want to thank you guys for coming and joining me on Calling All Beings True Crime Unsolved tonight. I wanted to take a shot at these guys. And we'll be back next week with Mike Crawford, the host of Young Jerks, the musician, the activist, former high school wrestling standout and head wrestling coach. And I can't wait to talk to Mike. Mike has brilliant perspectives. Julie, we love you. Mizzy, we love you. And everybody in the chat, we love you too. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have Mike Crawford one-on-one with me. We're going to have Nurse Kim in a one-on-one. If you know Analyze, if any of you watch Analyze on YouTube, I'm not going to give her real name because she doesn't. But Analyze, I'm coordinating with Analyze to come on. Analyze, if you want to see from the Karen Reed trial the best reading interpretation of Massachusetts Rule 27B, Analyze is your girl. She has a lot of great analysis. She tees off on a lot of people, but she has tremendous analysis. You may have seen her. She got a photo with Turtle Boy at one of the standouts about 2-3 weeks ago. But I expect Analyze, Nurse Kim, Mike Crawford, and Suzanne. We're going to get Suzanne on here. So thank you guys. Love you. And we will talk to you soon on Calling All Beings.